A teen girl said, "He locked me in the classroom." A crying girl told the bikers. The truth they uncovered shook the entire school. The 16-year-old stood sobbing in the parking lot of Mountain View High School, her shirt torn at the collar, bruises forming on her wrists, and gasped those words to her uncle who rode with the Iron Brotherhood Motorcycle Club. What those bikers discovered when they investigated that classroom would expose a pattern of abuse spanning 12 years and bring down not just one predator, but an entire system designed to protect him. My name is Samuel Reaper Jackson, and I've been president of the Iron Brotherhood MC for 18 years. We were picking up Danny's niece, Sophia Martinez, from school like we did every Thursday. Her mother worked late shifts as a nurse, and Sophia rode home with her uncle. But when we pulled into the parking lot, Sophia wasn't waiting by the front entrance like usual. She was running, sprinting across the parking lot like something was chasing her, crying so hard she could barely breathe. Danny was off his bike before the engine stopped. Sophia crashed into his arms and collapsed, her whole body shaking with sobs. That's when we saw it. The torn shirt, the bruises, the absolute terror in her eyes. And the way she kept looking back at the school building like a monster was about to come through those doors. "Sophia, what happened?" Danny asked, his voice tight with rage and fear. "Mr. Peterson," she gasped. "He locked me in the classroom. I tried to leave after tutoring ended. He blocked the door. He grabbed my wrists. He said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I failed and didn't graduate. He said no one would believe me because he's been Teacher of the Year 3 times, and I'm just a student with bad grades. But his phone rang, and he had to answer it, and I ran. I just ran." Mr. David Peterson, math teacher, 48 years old, at Mountain View High for 12 years, beloved by administration, respected by parents, and according to Sophia, a predator who'd just assaulted her in a locked classroom. Hammer, our sergeant-at-arms, was already on the phone with 911. Tank and crews positioned themselves between Sophia and the school building. The rest of us formed a protective circle. We weren't leaving until police arrived and Sophia gave a statement. But then we saw him, Mr. Peterson, walking out of the school building. Casual, relaxed, waving to another teacher, getting into his car like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just assaulted a 16-year-old student 20 minutes ago. "That's him," Sophia whispered, grabbing Danny's jacket. "That's him. Please don't let him see me." "He's not getting near you," Danny said. Then he looked at me. "Reaper, we can't let him leave." I made a decision. "Snake, Diesel, block that exit. Don't touch him. Just make sure he doesn't drive away before police get here." 2 motorcycles moved to the parking lot exit. Peterson's Honda Civic stopped. He honked, rolled down his window. "Excuse me, I need to leave." "Police are on their way," Snake said. "You can wait 5 minutes." Peterson's face changed. The friendly teacher mask slipped. What showed underneath was calculating. Cold. "I don't know what this is about, but I'm leaving. Move." "Can't do that, sir," Snake said. Peterson tried to drive around, but Diesel blocked him. Now he was trapped. And his reaction told me everything. He wasn't confused. He wasn't asking what was going on. He knew. He knew Sophia had talked. He knew we were keeping him there, and he was trying to run. Police arrived in 4 minutes. Officers Carter and Rodriguez. They took one look at the situation. Bikers surrounding a crying teenager. A teacher trapped in the parking lot trying to leave. And they immediately separated everyone to get statements. Sophia told Officer Rodriguez everything, showed the bruises on her wrists, explained that Mr. Peterson had asked her to stay after school for tutoring, that when she tried to leave, he'd locked the classroom door, that he'd grabbed her wrists and pushed her against the wall, that he'd told her no one would believe her if she reported him, that he'd threatened to fail her and ruin her college chances. Officer Rodriguez photographed Sophia's injuries, took her statement, then went to interview Mr. Peterson. Peterson had a different story. Sophia had stayed for tutoring voluntarily. She'd become frustrated with the lesson and thrown a tantrum. She'd torn her own shirt and grabbed her own wrists trying to get him to change her failing grade. He'd never locked the door, never touched her, never threatened her. She was a troubled student making false accusations because she was angry about her grades. It was his word against hers, a respected teacher versus a 16-year-old with a C- average. And I could see how this would go. Peterson would walk. Sophia would be labeled a liar. Nothing would change. But then something unexpected happened. Another girl approached Officer Rodriguez. Quiet, nervous, a freshman named Emma Chen. "I heard what happened to Sophia," Emma said. "Mr. Peterson did the same thing to me last year. He locked me in his classroom after tutoring. He touched my shoulder and my back. He told me I was special. When I tried to leave, he said no one would believe me because I was new to the school and he was an award-winning teacher. I was too scared to report it. But if Sophia's reporting it, I want to report mine too." Then another girl, junior named Ashley Rodriguez. "He did it to me in freshman year. Same classroom, same threats, same warning that no one would believe me. By the time the school day ended, 6 girls had come forward, 6 students spanning 3 years, all with similar stories, all assaulted in the same locked classroom, all threatened with academic retaliation if they reported. All too scared to speak up until Sophia gave them permission by speaking first." Officer Rodriguez's entire demeanor changed. "This isn't one accusation. This is a pattern. We need to interview more students. We need to search that classroom. And we need to contact every girl who ever had tutoring with Mr. Peterson. If you believe bikers are the good people, hit that like and subscribe button." The investigation that followed revealed something even worse. The Iron Brotherhood stayed close to the Martinez family. We made sure Sophia felt supported. We attended her interviews with police. We were visible at the school, making it clear we were watching. And during that time, we learned things. Parents talked to us. Students talked to us. Former students reached out on social media when they heard what was happening. The stories multiplied. 12 years. Mr. Peterson had been at Mountain View High for 12 years. And during that time, at least 23 girls had been assaulted in that classroom. Some had reported it. And that's where the real twist emerged. Every single complaint had been filed with the school administration. Every single one had been investigated internally. And every single one had been dismissed. The assistant principal who handled disciplinary issues was Michael Warner. He'd been Peterson's college roommate. They'd remained close friends for 25 years. Every time a girl reported Peterson, Warner conducted the investigation. Every time, he concluded the girl was lying or mistaken. Every time, he protected his friend. But it got worse. Detective Sarah Chen, who took over the case from Officer Rodriguez, discovered that Warner hadn't just dismissed complaints. He'd actively intimidated victims. He'd called girls into his office and told them their accusations would destroy a good man's career, that they'd be known as liars, that other teachers would treat them differently, that colleges would see disciplinary records showing they made false accusations. He'd systematically terrorized teenage girls into silence. And he'd done it for 12 years, while Peterson assaulted 23 students. The school board claimed they had no knowledge. But when Detective Chen subpoenaed school records, she found email chains, messages between Warner and the principal discussing problem students who made inappropriate accusations against staff. Documentation showing the superintendent had been notified of at least 8 separate complaints against Peterson over the years, and records showing that instead of investigating properly, they'd transferred complaining students to other teachers and marked their files with codes that labeled them as difficult or attention-seeking. This wasn't one predator and one enabler. This was institutional protection, a system designed to prioritize a teacher's reputation over student safety, a conspiracy to silence victims. The truth shook Mountain View High School to its foundation. Parents pulled students out. Teachers resigned in protest. The media descended. And the Iron Brotherhood became an unexpected part of the story. We were the ones who'd blocked Peterson from leaving. We were the ones who'd protected Sophia while she gave her statement. We were the ones who'd stayed visible, making it clear that these girls had people who believed them. Detective Chen told me later that our presence changed everything. Teenage girls are conditioned to be quiet, she said, to not make trouble, to defer to authority. But when they saw bikers standing with Sophia, blocking a teacher's car, making sure he couldn't run, it gave them permission to speak. It showed them that adults would believe them and protect them. That's why 6 girls came forward immediately. They saw that Sophia had backup. The trial was devastating. 23 victims testified. Some were adults now, assaulted years ago, but never able to get justice. Others were still students at Mountain View, finally able to speak after being silenced for months or years. They described the locked classroom, the threats, the assaults, the retaliation when they tried to report. And they described the assistant principal who'd protected Peterson, who'd interrogated them, who'd made them feel crazy for reporting what happened, who'd documented their complaints in ways that made them look like troublemakers instead of victims. David Peterson was convicted on 37 counts, including sexual assault, false imprisonment, and witness intimidation. The judge gave him 28 years. He was 48. He'd die in prison. Michael Warner was convicted on 19 counts of obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and failure to report child abuse. He got 15 years. The principal and superintendent were fired, but faced no criminal charges. They'd been negligent, but prosecutors couldn't prove they'd actively conspired to cover up the abuse. They just hadn't cared enough to investigate properly, which in some ways was worse. But the impact went beyond criminal convictions. Mountain View High School faced a massive civil lawsuit from 15 families. The case settled for $11 million. The district was forced to implement new reporting protocols. Independent investigators for any complaints against staff. Mandatory reporting training for all administrators. Student advocates in every disciplinary meeting. And most importantly, a public acknowledgement that they'd failed to protect students. 3 years after that day in the parking lot, I attended Sofia Martinez's high school graduation. She'd not only graduated, she'd been accepted to UCLA to study criminal justice. She walked across that stage wearing her cap and gown with 12 Iron Brotherhood members in the audience. In her graduation speech, Sophia talked about that day, about running to her uncle in the parking lot, about the bikers who'd surrounded her and made her feel safe, about the choice she'd made to report even though she was terrified, and about the 22 other girls who'd found their voices because she'd spoken first. 3 years ago, I was assaulted by a teacher I trusted, Sophia said, and when I reported it, I was terrified no one would believe me. Because for 12 years, this school had told girls like me that we didn't matter, that a teacher's reputation was more important than our safety, that we should stay quiet. But I had my uncle, and I had his brothers, and they taught me something important that day. They taught me that the scariest-looking people sometimes are the ones who'll fight hardest to protect you. They taught me that speaking up is always right, even when it's terrifying, and they taught me that silence only protects predators. The audience gave her a standing ovation. The Iron Brotherhood made sure of it. We stood first and everyone else followed. Sophia wasn't the only life changed by that day. Emma Chen, the freshman who'd been second to come forward, became a victim advocate. She volunteers with organizations that help students report abuse. Ashley Rodriguez started a peer support group at Mountain View for students who'd experienced assault. 6 other victims went on to careers in law, social work, or education, determined to fix the systems that had failed them. The Iron Brotherhood started a new program after the Peterson case. We call it Safe Ride. Any student at any school in our area can call us if they feel unsafe. We'll pick them up. We'll stay with them while they report to police. We'll make sure they're protected. We've responded to 43 calls in 3 years. We've helped students report teachers, coaches, administrators, and other students. And we've made it clear that we believe victims and will stand with them against anyone. Mountain View High School has a memorial now, in the main hallway. It reads, "To the 23 students who found the courage to speak, to the girl who ran for help, to those who believed her, speaking up saves lives. Silence protects predators. We failed you once. We will not fail again." It doesn't name Sophia specifically, but every student at that school knows who it's about. The girl who ran to bikers, the girl who spoke when she was terrified, the girl who broke 12 years of silence and exposed a systematic cover-up. David Peterson is 63 now. He has 18 years left on his sentence. Prison hasn't been kind. Men who assault teenage girls aren't safe in general population. He's been attacked 4 times, lost hearing in his right ear, walks with a cane, spends most of his time in protective custody, isolated, alone with the knowledge that he destroyed 23 lives for his own gratification. Michael Warner died in prison 2 years into his sentence. Heart attack, alone in his cell. No one attended his funeral except a court-appointed lawyer who had to be there for paperwork. The man who'd spent 12 years protecting a predator had no one to protect him when he needed it. Sophia Martinez is 19 now. She's thriving at UCLA. She's top of her class. She's applied to law school. She wants to prosecute crimes against children. She wants to be the person who makes sure no administrator ever protects a predator again. She still rides with the Iron Brotherhood sometimes, comes to club events, brings her college friends to our charity rides. She tells anyone who'll listen about the day bikers saved her life, about how she ran to her uncle and his brothers believed her, about how they blocked a predator from running, about how they stood with her while she gave the hardest statement of her life. "People see bikers, and they think danger," Sophia told a reporter last year. "But when I was in danger, bikers were the safest people in that parking lot. They didn't dismiss me. They didn't minimize what happened. They didn't tell me to calm down or wait or think about the teacher's reputation. They just protected me. That's what real strength looks like." The Iron Brotherhood isn't perfect. We've made mistakes. We've lived on the edges of legality. But when Sophia Martinez ran to us crying about being locked in a classroom, we didn't hesitate. We believed her. We acted. We made sure her voice was heard even when every authority figure at her school had been trained to silence girls like her. 12 years of abuse. 23 victims. 1 assistant principal who protected a predator. 1 administration that looked the other way. And 1 16-year-old girl who had the courage to run to her uncle and say, "He locked me in the classroom." That's what changed everything. Not the bikers, not the police, not even the legal system. Sophia changed everything. Her courage to speak, her refusal to stay silent, her decision to trust that someone would believe her. We just made sure she was right, made sure her trust wasn't misplaced, made sure that when she found the courage to speak, someone was listening, someone was acting, someone was standing between her and the people who wanted to silence her. That's what we ride for. That's what matters. Not the arrests or the convictions or the headlines. The 23 girls who finally got justice. The countless girls at Mountain View and other schools who are safer because one predator network was exposed. The students who now know that speaking up works, that adults will believe them, that protection is possible. David Peterson counted on silence. Michael Warner enforced that silence. The administration enabled it. For 12 years, the system worked exactly as designed, to protect teachers, to prioritize reputation over safety, to silence teenage girls who tried to speak truth about their assaults. But they didn't count on Sophia Martinez, didn't count on her having an uncle who rode with the Iron Brotherhood, didn't count on 22 bikers surrounding a crying teenager and deciding nothing was more important than protecting her. Didn't count on Snake and Diesel blocking a parking lot exit to keep a predator from running. That blocked exit changed everything, because it showed Sophia and every other girl watching that adults would act. would believe, would protect. That locked classroom had been a place of power for Peterson, a place where he controlled access, controlled information, controlled girls' futures with threats about grades and reputations. But that parking lot became a place of powerlessness for him, because there he had no control. There, bikers blocked his exit and police took statements and victims found their voices. There, the locked doors that had trapped girls for 12 years were finally opened. The Iron Brotherhood still picks Sophia up from college sometimes when she comes home. Still surrounds her with protection. Still makes sure she knows she has brothers who will always believe her and always act. And every time we ride past Mountain View High School, we see that memorial, those 23 names, that message about speaking up. And we remember the day a terrified 16-year-old girl ran to us crying, and we made the choice to believe her. That choice exposed 12 years of abuse. That choice brought down a predator network. That choice showed an entire school that silence protects monsters and courage exposes them. Sophia Martinez found that courage. The Iron Brotherhood just made sure it mattered. Like and subscribe for more stories.